told my husband I was pregnant. He freaked out, left me for his younger coworker the same night, and his family supported him. I raised our son alone, built a life, and years later, after everything fell apart for him, he came crawling back. I let him try to fix his relationship with our son, but he'll never get me back. It was a rainy Thursday in early spring. I remember that detail clearly because I had just gotten back from my OBGYN, soaked from forgetting an umbrella. But I didn't care. I was practically buzzing with the kind of joy that makes your chest feel too small to hold it all. After 2 years of trying, 2 years of tears, late-night Googling, awkward doctor visits, and watching negative pregnancy tests pile up like a graveyard, I was finally pregnant. I wanted it to be special, so I cooked his favorite meal, chicken parm, homemade garlic knots, the whole deal. I even bought one of those cheesy dad-to-be mugs and placed the positive test inside. When Marcus got home, I was practically bouncing. I handed him the box with the mug, heart racing. He opened it, stared, and then, he laughed. But not a joyful laugh. It was this hollow, nervous chuckle like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Then he said, "You ruined everything. I didn't want this child. I didn't want any of this." I thought he was joking, or in shock, or something, but he just kept going. "This wasn't part of the plan. We're supposed to travel, focus on our careers. I'm not ready for this. I don't think I ever will be. I told you I wasn't sure about kids." Except, he hadn't. He'd acted unsure sometimes, but we'd talked about it, even went to counseling over it. We agreed to try. He'd been distant for months, but I chalked it up to stress. That same night, the same damn night, he packed a bag and walked out. No apology, no discussion, just silence as the door shut behind him. I found out the next day through a mutual friend that he'd left me for his 25-year-old colleague, Lily. She worked in his department, and I'd even met her once at an office party. I thought she was sweet, naive, maybe, but sweet. Apparently, they'd been seeing each other for months. Lily didn't know I was pregnant when they ran off to get space. She probably didn't even know he was married until the last minute. To make it worse, when I called his parents, sobbing, hoping for support, they sided with him. His mom literally said, "He's still too young to be tied down with a family." Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Marcus was 34, I was 32. I spent the next few weeks in a fog. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and yet, I was growing a life inside me. A life that had no idea that their father had already abandoned them. I decided right then I'd be both mother and father to this baby. I wasn't going to beg Marcus to come back. I wouldn't give his parents the satisfaction. I leaned on my sister, my therapist, and an online support group of single moms who saved my sanity more times than I can count. The pregnancy was rough. I ended up on bed rest for the last month, and labor was a traumatic blur of monitors, shouting, and finally, silence, followed by the sweetest cry I've ever heard. My son, Caleb, was born with a full head of curly hair and the same deep-set eyes as his father, and I loved him instantly. Those first 2 years were hell. I had to go back to work after 8 weeks, thank God for my boss, who let me work flexible hours. I learned to function on no sleep. I learned to manage daycare drop-offs, pediatrician visits, teething, colic, diaper blowouts, all without a single call or visit from Marcus. Not once, no child support, no birthday cards, nothing. I filed for divorce. He didn't contest it. In fact, he seemed relieved. Moved out of state with Lily, started a new job, new life, new everything. But here's the funny thing about abandonment. It has a way of turning pain into purpose. I started freelancing on the side, eventually launching my own consulting business. It took 3 years, but I doubled my income, bought a house, paid off my car, and Caleb? He grew into this vibrant, smart, kind-hearted little boy who loved dinosaurs and bedtime stories and believed I hung the moon. Fast forward 6 years, I was in my office, finishing a client call, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't pick up, but something told me to. "Hey, it's me, Marcus." Silence. I felt ice run down my spine. I've been thinking a lot. About everything. I was a coward. I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I was wondering if we could talk. Turns out, Marcus's fairy tale had crumbled. Lily had left him. No kids, no house, just arguments, resentment, and the realization that he'd traded something real for something fleeting. He said he'd been haunted by the way he treated me, that he wanted to meet Caleb, be a dad, maybe even start over. I nearly laughed. We met at a coffee shop. Neutral territory. I brought a folder with court papers and visitation guidelines. Just in case. He looked older, tired. Regret clung to him like a second skin. "I was selfish," he said. "I thought leaving would make me happy, but I lost the best thing I ever had. I want to be in his life. If you'll let me. I let him talk. For once, I didn't cry, I didn't shout, I just listened. Then I calmly said, you don't get to walk back in like nothing happened. But I won't punish Caleb for your mistakes. You'll go through the court, just like anyone else. You'll earn his trust, not demand it. And me? You don't get me back. He nodded, slowly,